Hey guys, the following are various quotes from Kurt Cobain where he discusses his childhood and why he breaks guitars. In terms of Kurt's youth, it's well documented that at various points in his teenage years, he was homeless. If you want to see a clip from my interview with Melvins and early Nirvana drummer Dale Crover, where he discusses Kurt's homelessness, the link is available below. Now for the Kurt Cobain quotes. Here they are. Quote, "My mother was a fantastic, attentive, and compassionate mother throughout my childhood, until I started becoming incorrigible and rebellious. She was from a completely different era. You'd go to prom, find your high school love, have your child, and devote your life to them. She was 18 or 20 when she had me, and she did a really great job. My mom was always physically affectionate with me. We always kissed goodbye and hugged. I'm surprised to find out that so many families aren't that way. Those were pretty blissful times. I just remember all of a sudden after the divorce not being the same person, feeling like I wasn't worth anything. I didn't feel like I deserved to be hanging out with the other kids because they had parents who lived together and I didn't anymore. You know, my parents weren't artistic and I was. I liked music and they didn't. Subconsciously, maybe I thought I was adopted. I felt alienated. Right around age 9, I started feeling more confused. I couldn't understand at the time why I really didn't want to hang out with the kids at school. Years later, I realized why. I obviously didn't relate to them because they didn't appreciate anything artistic or cultural. It was their bread to become loggers. I think the fact that I was a really small kid had a lot to do with why I didn't want to go into the logging industry. In Aberdeen, there was no kind of social outlet. We just stayed in our rooms all the time playing guitar. Ever since I can remember, since I was a little kid, I wanted to be Ringo Starr. But I wanted to be John Lennon playing the drums. When I was around 7 years old, I thought for sure I could be a rock star. I knew I could be the president if I wanted to, but that was a stupid idea. I'd rather be a rock star. I knew I wanted to make music since I was 5 years old. It seems unbelievable, but it's the truth. My aunt who babysat me always listened to the Beatles. I grew up with it. For a long time I wanted to be a drummer. Until I was 13 and I started to play in a band in middle school and was forced to admit that I wasn't made for the instrument. My uncle gave me the choice between a guitar and a bike. I chose the guitar. The first song I learned to play was My Best Friend's Girl by the Cars. You know, with its 3 notes like Louie Louie. I took classes for a week. Once the instructor showed me the power and the bar chords, I realized that it was possible to play any note by going down the neck. And I said to myself, to heck with guitar lessons. I started to write songs. When I first started, I was heavily into Led Zeppelin. It eventually turned into what I thought was my own style, but it turned out to be punk rock. I had this intuition that it was better to try to find your own style than to learn technique. It's what I like best in punk. The theory that technique isn't important. What counts is that you have fun in the basement with your friends. Everything else, making an album, touring, doing your job, is secondary. I like cheap guitars because they're light. Because they have a corrupt feel. They aren't perfect. I find it liberates you from the instrument. It leaves room for accidents, for surprises. There is more chance of stumbling upon an original sound with these guitars precisely because they don't sound like they should. The problem is that on stage you can get out of tune very easily. I'm happy with this Japanese Telecaster I'm using now. It has a bit of a dirty sound and it doesn't get out of tune. I'm going to try to keep this one, but it would be a lie to say that it won't ever get destroyed. I've already broken 3 guitars that I liked a lot, and I regretted it the minute I left the stage, but whatever, I can't do anything about it. It's out of my control. I guess it's linked to a feeling of insecurity. In the beginning of Nirvana, we had a drummer that wasn't very good in my opinion. Out of rage, I sometimes left the stage throwing material. I realized that people liked it, and me too. I loved doing it at the climax of the show. It compensated for not having a light show. I really don't know why I do that. I wondered how I was going to play the next day, since I'm a lefty and we were broke. You can imagine what a problem that could be in a little town in the middle of nowhere. The Pacific Northwest is an industrial region. When you live among workers, drinkers, people not generally happy with their lives, you have a tendency to listen to music that gets straight to the point. I don't see any other explanation.